catch testing hardware has been mounted to test tank 16 at Massey's, Ship 32 leaves Sanchez to enter the high bay where it will be scrapped at the build site, and the location of the cryogenic LOX pumps has finally been found at the launch site. Welcome to episode 73 of the Starbase Flyover update. This episode will cover all of the Starbase developments from February 2nd through to February 8th. With SpaceX working at a relentless pace, there's a lot to catch up on at Starbase Texas once again. My name is Jeff A, and I'll be your guide today, so let's buckle up and enjoy the latest flight from 10,500 feet. We'll start our tour today at Massey's test facility. Before we dive in, let's have a quick look at the labelled map by Proky to get you oriented. On the 4th of February, Test Tank 16 was transported to the site and a test mechanism was installed in the article. This mechanism is a chopstick simulator. Looking closer at this image from Starship Gazer, you can see they mounted landing pads like the ones on the arms at the launch site. The actuator in the foreground applies the simulated loads of the chopsticks closing in on the airframe. One likely reason for the test may be to confirm the reliability of the dome welds, given the chosen position for the test. The common dome weld can clearly be seen amongst the short stringers here. Just above the structural test stand, the ring for the inner 10 engines has gained some mysterious triangular pieces, with some curved pieces sitting nearby. It's unclear what these are for. Let us know what you think in the comments. At the flame trench, the engine chill dump has been relocated further away from the trench and a new collection area has been formed. One of our dedicated regulars, Jake Max Q, noticed the support rings for the RVAC engines were removed from the work platform of the static fire stand. They were then returned prior to placing Ship 34 onto it at the build site. Ship 34 then rolled along Highway 4 on the 11th of February to begin its engine testing regime. On the same day it rolled to Massey's, Ship 34 conducted the longest duration static fire of a vehicle ever, coming in at a whopping 60 seconds. While the firing did look good, a strange popping sound was heard upon review of the audio. It's unclear whether this is nominal or not. Cleanup work around the site includes removal of the old vertical liquid nitrogen tank from the rear of the site, and the old B12 hot stage ring has finally disappeared. Before we move on to Sanchez, let's take a look at the progress at the commercial site near the Rocket Ranch outpost. Let's begin at the homes along the river. The first home has had its vertical columns poured, with starter bars poking out of the top for what looks like a suspended slab for the second floor. As for the second home, it's not far behind the first, with framing for its columns being constructed. Foundation work is progressing well for the other homes along the row. Moving to the apartment complexes, work is also progressing well with framing out the buildings. In this image, we get a rare look at the layout of these apartments. There are 2 per story. Finally, moving to the right of the site, the large continuous slab is gradually moving towards the right. This slab appears to be for parking garages. The piles being installed further up will be for more apartment type accommodation. And now, on to Sanchez. As always, we'll give you a look at the map to keep you up to date. This handy reference will help you keep track of vehicle movements and so much more. Starting at OLMB, externally it appears much the same as last week. However, internal work has started. Currently, we don't have an idea if the top deck deflector will be fed from just one side or multiple, as there are no more manifolds for the other sides. We'll keep an eye out on that. To the side, new pipe racks are being set up, likely to have everything in one place. If you look closely, the first ridge cap of the flame bucket has been delivered. We expect another one to be delivered soon. While on the subject of the flame bucket, both halves are almost full of pipes, with the side ones still to be installed. Another Star Factory jig has been constructed, with the one mentioned in the previous flyovers awaiting its move to the factory. A new 6-spoke jig has begun construction. All the others have had 10 spokes radiating from the centre. The remaining curved pieces are staged nearby, and you can see how the shape of their ends fit into the radial I-beams. These other new pieces were constructed into a single ring and then moved into the factory on February 12th. Cladding for Tower B has arrived this week. There are some pieces that look like what we saw previously on Tower 1 and some other plates with reinforcements that have a curved face. The reason for this is unclear, so we'll have to wait and see them installed at a later date. At the former chopsticks area, a second new actuator was delivered and later moved to the launch site to be installed on the right-hand chopstick on February 12th. Rolling to the scrapyard, Ship 32 was moved to the high bay to start its scrapping process. Finally, at the parking garage, sadly the entire graphic has been taken down. We don't currently know if this is going to be replaced or if this is a permanent move. Nothing at Starbase lasts too long. With that, let's move to the build site. Starting off with Mega Bay 2, we got a great aerial view of the inside after many weeks with the door closed. Ship 34 was on the left of the bay at the time of our flyover before its move to Massey's on the 10th of February. Ship 35 is on the centre workstation after being fully stacked, as mentioned last week. In addition, we saw the Starlink PEZ loader for Ship 36 moved into the bay, even though the actual ship is still in the Star Factory. We can catch a glimpse of the turntable workstation to the right, where the permanent access ring is now complete. In the middle of the right wall, you can also see the ship downcomer installation jig. Over in Mega Bay 1, stacking of Booster 17 continues, with its aft section lifted on the left turntable followed by the LOX tank completing the bottom half of the booster the morning of the 11th. Later that evening, the methane tank stacking commenced with the forward dome section known as FX3 as well as the F2.3 tank sections rolled into the bay, making it 6 rings tall. Refer to this labelled diagram from Jax from the Ring Watchers to help understand how all the parts fit together. If you look closely into the high bay, you can just see Ship 32 before the scrapping crew began cutting it into pieces. Since this photo was taken, the various sections were further scrapped outside the high bay. Booster 15 was rolled out from Mega Bay 1 for its static fire at the launch site on the early morning of February 8th, with SpaceX posting these photos of the brightly lit Star Factory. Notably, the landscaping around the building seems to have been completed. Moving to the village, the recreational facility has been topped off and wrapped with insulation material. Construction continues on additional residential units. Foundations for 2 additional homes are dug. We can also see progress on the 7-unit building, with walls and floor joists being constructed. Adjacent to this building, forms are being prepared to pour concrete for another of these buildings with space for 5 units. Before moving on to the launch site, this flyover was made possible by our paid supporters on Patreon. Consider supporting us to gain access to high-quality photo galleries and roundtable discussion the same day we fly. Here at the launch site, we're discovering new hardware and systems with each flyover. These labelled maps are essential to keep us all on the same page. Beginning at the Pad B flame trench, this nearly straight down angle lets you see the complete size of the trench. The final 2 areas requiring blinding layer concrete were laid prior to the flyover. In the propellant culvert, installation of additional pipework continues. To the south of the pad, additional steel beams and columns have been delivered to form the gantry structure that we expect to be part of the BQD system. Thanks to Chrome Kiwi for piecing together some of these parts to give a general idea of what this structure will look like. The chopsticks integration continues to make progress with the left arm actuator installed. The right one was then delivered to the launch site early morning of the 11th. Looking above the travelling block, the fibre pulling rope can be seen reeved in preparation for pulling the lift rope into place. At the top of the tower, we can see a yellow winch which was used to assist in lifting each loop of the rope back to the top during reeving. Turning a little, we can see the supply reel for the pull rope which appears to be on a winch system that was used to pull the lift rope. This operation would be complete around lunchtime on February 10th. The propellant culvert west of the fluids bunker has advanced, the base layer of concrete has been poured, and the walls are being prepared with rebar and forms. If we look closer to the edge of the site, we can see embeds prepared for the trenches. We previously saw these thin strips used for the ledge that the cover rests on, as well as these square ones that are placed on the walls for the pipe racks. At the water tank foundations, pipe stands are now in place on 22 of the embeds. Trench covers are being placed at the larger set of foundations, indicating the water tanks at the port connector road may begin arriving as soon as February 12th. The pad for the new electrical bunker continues to progress, with embeds poured in the openings seen last week. Formwork is being installed for the next stage of construction. Around this new structure, several new vaults have been placed in preparation of continued conduit installation. After months of waiting and multiple pump location speculations, you can see that the new hardware installed this week includes an elevated platform between the previously installed valve skids, which will house one of the LOX pumps. This modular pump and valves assembly will be repeated for the remaining LOX pumps. Adjacent, we have a clear view of the updraft vent housing first spotted last week. Attached to it is a large axial fan to draw in air. In this ground image from Sean Giesler, we can see this fan. Behind it, we can also see one of the subcoolers has been covered in what appears to be a layer of blue insulation. Returning to the air, the new pad in the pump farm is freshly poured, with power trowels finishing the surface. This pad is expected to be for the methane pump system and has one less station than the LOX pad in front. Looking at the new photos, we can update that the last two horizontal cryo tanks will be for LOX. The pipe attached last week appeared to suggest LN2, but that is not the case. The LOX feed pipe extension is now on top of the rack and has flanges to connect to the remaining two tanks. In front of the tank farm, with the conduits installed, another concrete pad for what looks to be another electrical bunker has taken shape. Closing out our tour, Booster 15 was mounted on the OLM in preparation for its static fire test. The pad had begun clearing out, with scaffold removal started. In this clip from Lab Padre compiled by Vix, around 9:51 on February 9th, the 33 Raptor engines on Booster 15 would ignite for a full duration static fire. Later that day, SpaceX would post these images from the successful test on X. Booster 15 would then make its way back to the build site on February 10th. It's also worth noting that with a time of only 61 hours, it has been the shortest static fire testing campaign, besting Booster 13's 82-hour turnaround from leaving the production site to returning. And that's it for episode 73 of Starbase Flyover Update. Thank you for choosing to fly with RGV Aerial Photography, and I hope you all enjoyed the flight. If you liked what you saw today, please subscribe for more episodes and content so you don't miss out on the new videos each week. My name's Jeff A, and we'll see you next time from 10,500 feet.